KMOV TV, Boys, St. Louis. Thanks for choosing News 4 St. Louis at 6.
Well, I said, well, I can show you the arch. I just can't let you get in the arch.
Park rangers are turning away disappointed visitors who had hoped to ride to the top of the Gateway Arch. Thank you for joining us. St. Louis's premier attraction is closed, and it could stay closed for at least a couple of months.
An electrical fire last night is forcing the National Park Service to shut down the arch. Matt Cesney joins us now live from the arch grounds with more on this story. Matt?
Julius, the only other time the arch has been closed for an extended period of time was during the government shutdown back in 1995. This time, park officials say the damage inside the arch from that fire last night is so extensive that St. Louis's most recognizable structure will be closed not for days or weeks, but maybe for months. These tourists from Lake George, New York got back on the bus for the long ride home. It'll be a long trip because they couldn't get inside the Gateway Arch, the whole purpose for their trip.
We're really disappointed. We were looking forward to going up on it.
And for tourists and visitors, the news only gets worse. An electrical fire last night inside the monument will leave the arch closed for a lot longer than first expected.
Right now, it looks like for sure we're going to be closed down for at least a month, and it could run as high as a couple months.
National Park officials say the repair job on the 30-year-old electrical panel will be a big one.
It's a pretty good-sized structure, if you will, within that room. That'll have to be totally, the old one taken out probably and a new one replaced. And right now what we're doing is we have a couple electrical engineers that are assisting us with that project, and we'll get some price quotes and see where we go from here.
But the big repair job means tourists who want to see this city's centerpiece are out in the cold.
It was the trip we came down here for, it really was, you know. But we'll come again some more time, hopefully.
I'm from St. Louis, and I've been telling her for months and months and months, you know, when we go to St. Louis, I got to show you the arch, got to show you the arch. And we get here last night, and it's just closed.
Park rangers remain outside the entrances to the arch, giving tourists the bad news. Having the arch closed for a month or even longer will have a significant impact on tourism. Park officials say in an average October, the arch attracts about 200,000 visitors. And in November, the day after Thanksgiving, is the busiest day of the year for the arch, attracting 20,000 visitors that day alone. So no doubt National Park Service officials are scrambling to get that electrical damage repaired in time for November. Back to you both.
Yeah, and again, Matt, right now the word isn't out to everyone beyond our borders. Once the word gets out beyond here, that's really going to hit the tourists.
It certainly is going to have an impact because of all the positive imagery St. Louis has gotten from Mark McGuire's summer here in St. Louis. Certainly it is attracting tourists this fall, and they're certainly going to hear about the bad news of the arch being closed.
All right, Matt Cesney reporting. Thanks, Matt.
In other news now, St. Louis's city attorney is clearing the way for the demolition of the old arena on Oakland. City Attorney Eric Banks says Mayor Harmon has the legal authority to tear down the arena without approval of the Board of Aldermen. The mayor wants to turn the arena site into an office park.
Investigators blame a slick stretch of road for a morning school bus accident.
The bus was filled with dozens of students when it skidded and toppled on its side in Lavity, Missouri. Catherine Jamboretz reports on this story from Franklin County.
It was real scary. It was real scary because you don't know if everybody's okay.
It was a rainy morning out on Highway T when this bus began to swerve and fishtail.
The bus driver lost control and she went into a ditch. She hit the brakes, it started sliding.
The driver struggled for control, but the bus skidded again and flipped on its side. 35 students on board were tossed everywhere.
Next thing we know, everyone was on the ground or on the side of the bus. And I hit my head up against the side of the bus, and I had turned around, flipped over, and landed on my arm. Everyone was piled all over each other.
Rescue crews rushed to the scene and began pulling students out the front of the bus.
We went down the side of the bus, and we slid down the hill, and then she started to freak out. And my dad's friend, Andy, came along and kicked the front windshield out so we could get out of the bus.
He was on his way to work. He was a EMT. He's on the Bowles Fire Department. And he's the one that knocked out the window and made sure the kids were okay.
There were so many victims, ambulances had to be called in from as far as 30 miles away. Shortly after, the victims started pouring into St. John's emergency room here in Washington, Missouri. 25 students and a bus driver were all brought here. Amazingly, doctors say not a single one had a serious injury. It seems there were more bumps and bruises than anything else.
Injuries could have been much, much worse than what they were. We were surprised and very thankful that none of the kids were hurt significantly. I think they had a little guardian angel watching over them.
In Labadie, Catherine Damveretz, News 4, St. Louis.
Our school administrators say they will put counselors on the bus tomorrow morning in case any students just want to talk about this accident. The St. Louis Police Department is accused of harassing and spying on a developmentally disabled schoolgirl.
The accusations are made by the girl's father. He is a St. Louis police officer accused of violating the city residency requirement. Mike O'Connell has the story.
Shootout with a murder suspect?
It's Sergeant Jim Carroll who will eventually be on trial for allegedly violating the St. Louis City residency requirement. But Carroll's attorney is attempting to put the St. Louis Police Department on trial, today accusing internal affairs investigators of spying on Carroll's 15-year-old severely developmentally disabled daughter.
I mean, do you think it's appropriate for this police department to follow around a special needs child, to follow her on the bus, to find out if her father is spending time with her in St. Louis County?
Jim Carroll claims to live here, the 3700 block of Blow in South St. Louis, but his wife and 4 children live in the 5400 block of Yeager in South St. Louis County. The Carrolls say they live separately solely so that daughter Jessica can attend a better public school for the disabled in St. Louis County.
Yes, they could provide a program for her, but the student-to-teacher ratio would not be the same as what she's receiving right now, which is currently 8 students to 2 teachers.
And you feel so strongly about that you and your husband decided to live apart?
That's correct.
But Attorney Pleben says Sergeant Carroll is a resident of both the city and the county, and that the city's residency requirement is too vague.
They don't even have a definition of residency. Go ask the chief of police what the definition of residency is and see what he tells you.
The police department says it follows the same residency definitions and requirements as other city departments. Attorneys for the police board did not respond to the allegations made by Sergeant Carroll's attorneys. Larry?
All right, Mike O'Connell from the newsroom. Thanks, Mike. There's a new voucher program which will give 500 St. Louis students a chance to go to private school. Next April, those vouchers for up to $1,600 will be distributed by a lottery drawing. Private investors are donating the money for that program. And local college students might also be eligible for more money to fund their education.
We'll have details of that story still ahead. Plus, we'll have Kent's 5-day forecast.
Yes, we're live at the Sheldon Theater. Tonight kicks off the Notes from Home concert series every Tuesday night at the Sheldon. We'll talk about this beautifully remodeled new theater, old theater, new/old, and we'll have your 5-day forecast coming up, too.
And the Gulf Coast begins the long process of repairing the damage left after a hurricane ripped through. Details coming up.
Julius Hunter, Larry Connors, meteorologist Kent Ehrhardt, and sports with Steve Savard. This is News 4 St. Louis at 6.
On the next Entertainment Tonight.
Hi, girls, how you doing?
The lost Leonardo DiCaprio interview and the trick that got him out of his trailer. Then Oprah and the race for the Monica Lewinsky interview.
I have spoken to her people.
Who will get it? And what will she have to say? Plus, inside the world of cyber stripping and why some of these women are making close to $500,000 a month on the next Entertainment Tonight.
Tonight at 6:30 on 4 St. Louis.
There's so many challenges. There's so many problems that face children today.
As governor, he created Parents as Teachers, the early childhood education program that won national acclaim. As senator, he's doing even more. Kit Bond's new direct check for education program sends federal education money directly to Missouri classrooms.
We'll bypass the Washington bureaucracy so there'll be more money and less hassle. Working to serve families is the bedrock of everything we do.
Some of the best-selling Buicks are pre-owned Buicks, but used Buick inventories are getting low. So right now, the Buick dealers really need your trade-in. That means the Buick you're driving now may never be worth more. Plus, right now you can get the best incentives of the year on all the award-winning new Buicks. In other words, if you've been waiting, now's the time to cash in at your local Buick dealer.
You didn't forget that important anniversary this week, did you?
Because we're lowering prices all over the store.
With special anniversary items to save even more. It's Walmart's 36th anniversary party, now through October 6th. Come on, there's still time to save.
We'll keep stocking those anniversary specials.
At low prices, good through October 6th.
Don't forget to hurry in.
This party's for you. Walmart's 36th anniversary.
Special savings make this an anniversary to remember.
So come on.
Welcome back. President Clinton is considering a trip to southern states hit hard by Hurricane George.
That storm is now a tropical depression, but it is continuing to dump rain along the Gulf Coast. In Mobile, Alabama, forecasters expect 2 feet of rain to fall. President Clinton has declared parts of Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Florida disaster areas, clearing the way for federal aid.
For the first time in nearly 3 years, the Federal Reserve is cutting short-term interest rates. The federal funds rate will drop by 0.25%. That'll move it from 5.5 to 5.25. The Fed says it's making the change to protect the U.S. economy from growing financial troubles in Asia and Russia.
President Clinton is expected to sign an education bill that would lower the interest rate on student loans. That bill also increases the amount of money students can receive from Pell Grants, and it provides an incentive for students who become teachers. Now, those who teach in certain urban or rural areas of the country would not have to pay back all of their loans.
Well, the rumblings over impeachment continue in Washington, and House Speaker Gingrich is out campaigning.
He was in Carbondale, Illinois today, stumping for congressional candidate Bill Price. Kara Caswell reports the outspoken Gingrich was almost silent on the Clinton scandal.
It's no surprise Speaker Newt Gingrich received a warm welcome from Republicans in southern Illinois. Today, 500 turned out for a $125 a plate fundraiser for Republican Dr. Bill Price, challenging incumbent Jerry Costello. But what may be surprising, he spoke very little about President Clinton's woes or the upcoming impeachment inquiry. Instead, he spoke on everything from saving Social Security to bolstering the U.S. military.
I believe there is only one country capable of leading the world. I believe that country is the United States.
When Speaker Gingrich did speak of Clinton, he was non-committal.
We're not going to do a step more than our duty, and we're not going to do a step less than our duty. We're not going to move faster because of the election. We're not going to move slower because of the election.
As the House Judiciary probe continues in Washington, it is obvious that Gingrich has stepped away from the spotlight and condemning the president's behavior with Monica Lewinsky. In fact, some who came here today expected to hear more.
I'm not too disappointed. I'm glad that he's taking this tone with it instead of throwing stones now, passing judgment now, and stirring it up more.
Earlier today, the speaker addressed Carbondale High students, urging them to get involved.
If I can't convince enough people to reinvest in democracy...
Then Gingrich takes questions from students. Regardless, Dr. Price hopes the speaker's visit gives him a boost. Republicans expect to capitalize on the president's trouble, with the election just 35 days away. In Carbondale, Kara Caswell, News 4, St. Louis.
And meteorologist Kent Ehrhardt is out on the town right now. He'll bring you the 5-day weather forecast.
The first Our Weather School question: in the last 100 years, there's never been a year without a hurricane. Now, is that true or is that false?
You've got a 50% chance of getting it right, and Kent has the answer and the forecast when we return. Wow, that Sheldon Concert Hall in Midtown St. Louis is a beautiful place.
It is indeed, and Kent is there now as they prepare for the big opening tonight.
Yeah, this is the reopening of their Notes from Home series, concert series, every Tuesday night when you'll see a lot of local artists. You may have heard about the big grand reopening last week of the newly remodeled Sheldon Theater with Tony Bennett. And sitting on this stage and looking at this beautiful theater, this facility here, it's hard to believe that you could see talent and artists like that in this very intimate setting. Dale Benz, I'm sure, will agree with me there because he's the director of operations here at the new Super Sheldon. We get the fabulous Fox. Is this the Super Sheldon?
Super Sheldon.
All
That's
right.
the way it has been.
It sounds good to me. But you've really done quite a job here.
Yeah, we started this project maybe 5 years ago, you know, from the first fundraising up until we drove the last nail here last week. So
we have some pictures that folks can look at of the theater itself, and you can tell us a little bit about that.
Theater, this is newly renovated. We caught a glimpse of the balcony that we re-raked over the summer to give everybody better sight lines. There you have the stage where you're sitting right now. And, the art gallery. It's 6,000 square foot art gallery we'd like to invite people to come down to. We are going to have that open on every Tuesday from 5 o'clock on as our public hours for the art gallery, so we welcome people to come down.
It's a beautiful gallery. You're going to have lots of great exhibits there and lots of great artists that will be performing here at the Sheldon. Again, the Notes from Home concert series every Tuesday. They have family concerts coming up on Saturdays, not every Saturday. But Tony Bennett was here, Herbie Mann, Chet Atkins. You're going to have the Tommy Dorsey Orchestra. I mean, these are some huge acts in a very intimate setting.
Yeah, we found that it's not too hard to convince a lot of these artists to come here because it is so intimate. You know, you're one-on-one. You can see the whites of their eyes.
Great. Dale, thanks very much. And we know it's going to be a very exciting night tonight with Johnny Johnson. We want to talk about the weather here locally. And first off, we'll tell you that it's 86 degrees with the relative humidity at 46%, a little west wind and a steady barometer now. The high today reached all the way up to 88. It was a toasty day and still pretty warm out there right now. No precip, though, at the airport. Not yet, anyway. And as you look at the Doppler radar, you can see that we're devoid of any rain in our area right now, but off to the west we do have some rain. As we look at the big picture, you'll see all the showers and thunderstorms threatening the Kansas City area and eastern Kansas, and some of that will be rolling in our direction overnight tonight. Most of it just missed us this morning to our north. There's the latest radar from George. The heavy rain continues in the Panhandle. Up to 2 feet of rain has already fallen, and the storm now drifting off to the east as a tropical depression. Look at that. This is the rainfall since early this morning, and in excess of an inch anywhere where you see yellow, and that's on top of the rain that they've had over the past couple of days, so the flooding will continue there. So here comes the rain from the west. The storm system dips to the south tomorrow. The cool air kind of stays to the north of us, but by Thursday it will get here, and we will see dramatically cooler air, but tomorrow will be in the 80s again. This evening, temperatures in the 80s with light winds, fair skies. And by bedtime tonight, we drop down into the mid-70s with mid-60s for the morning low. A few scattered showers by maybe lunchtime and afternoon tomorrow. In the 5-day outlook, the cooler air is on the way. By Thursday, we're down to 66 for the high. And look at those temperatures on Friday. The high 60, the low 47. Can you believe that? Maybe a little rain on Friday and Saturday should clear out by Sunday. Our weather school question today, true or false? In the last century, there has never been a year without at least one hurricane. Well, that's false, because in 1907, there were 4 tropical storms, and they didn't name storms back then, but they did not strengthen to hurricanes. Once again, the Sheldon Theater, right at Washington and Grand behind the Fox. You're going to have a great time if you come by here tonight and see the great piano work and the big band work, really, of Johnny Johnson.
Wish we could come. I hope you will come. All right, a Missouri politician is proposing yet another way to honor Mark McGwire.
Details after sports, but first, the rest continue play. The playoff season underway. Sports Director Steve Savard has highlights. Stay with us. Welcome back. Let's get right to sports.
I am pulling for a Cubs and Red Sox World Series.
That'd be
Fans
good.
in Chicago and Boston deserve it. 13-11, the key numbers from today's Boston-Cleveland playoff game. The Red Sox snapped a 13-game postseason losing streak because Mo Vaughn and Nomar Garciaparra combined to drive in all 11 Boston runs. Sox scored early and often. Vaughn rips a 3-run homer off Cleveland starter Jarrett Wright in the top of the first. Mo would hit 2 homers, tied a playoff record, driving in 7 runs today. Garciaparra drove in the other 4, 3 coming on this home run. The Sox hang a big fat 11 on the Indians. 11-3 the final in Game 1.
Whether it broke the streak or not, I'm glad it did, but I'm glad it was Game 1 that we won. So we got a situation here where if we just keep pushing it and going after it, we can be in a pretty good set going home.
San Diego wins Game 1 at Houston in the NL thanks to Kevin Brown. He had his best stuff, striking out 16 in 8 innings. You saw Mo Vaughn homer in the AL. Greg Vaughn does it in the NL playoffs. A solo shot off Randy Johnson gave the Padres a 2-0 lead. They would need that run because they had to hang on in the ninth. 2-1 game. Trevor Hoffman wriggles free of a jam by getting Carl Everett to hit the fly ball to center field to end it. And San Diego, a winner in Game 1 in Houston by a final of 2-1. Wrigley Field was rocking last night. The Cubs wrapped up the NL wild card berth and now will face the Atlanta Braves beginning tomorrow night. How about former Cardinal Gary Gaetti stepping up? He broke a scoreless tie in the 5th with this 2-run homer. The Cubs would never trail. Final out. The Cubs clinging to a 3-run lead, tying run at the plate, and Joe Carter. Rod Beck gets him to pop up the first baseman Mark Grace. And the Cubs wrap up their first postseason berth since 1989. Sammy Sosa homerless. He finishes with 66, but he will play in the postseason. Tonight at 7, we present an hour-long primetime special. I think you're going to enjoy this. Mark McGwire, St. Louis's home run hero, chronicles a record-setting summer. That's tonight at 7 here on News 4. The Detroit Lions beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last night, and for a few anxious moments, it appeared Buccaneers wide receiver Bryce Hunter was badly hurt. Lions quarterback Scott Mitchell had a front row seat for a nasty collision. Watch Hunter take the pass and then take a shot right to the helmet. He went limp immediately, fell to the turf unconscious, looked terrible. He was taken off, underwent a CAT scan. Good news today, it's described as just a minor injury. This is bad news for Tampa Bay quarterback Trent Dilfer. He's picked off by Bryant Westbrook, takes it in for the score. Lions win it 27-6. Both teams are now 1-3. Many of the Rams players took advantage of their day off to play in Mike Jones' charity golf tournament at Beasley Farms. That is Dexter McCleon, the defensive back. I think he found some woods there. Mike Jones, the outside linebacker for the Rams, very active in charity work. He established the Mike Jones Foundation that raises money for needy children. He told us the cause is worth embarrassing himself on the golf course.
We need to get a fundraiser for the Michael Jones Foundation. You know, we have free football camps throughout Missouri, so we ran a couple of ideas through me and said, let's try a golf tournament, so that's what we did.
Are a lot of the Rams golfers?
A lot of them play at it. I don't want to say they play golf, but they play at it.
Former Ram Ironhead Hayward is in the news. He is signed with the Indianapolis Colts. He'll get $650,000 to finish out the season in Indy.
That would help anybody finish out a season.
And you can also make some more money with soap.
Oh, yeah.
Got the commercials.
Okay. Missouri Senator Kit Bond is introducing a bill to honor Mark McGwire.
That bill would rename part of a local interstate after the Cardinal Slugger.
I am going to propose a measure today to designate a portion of Interstate 70 in Missouri as the Mark McGwire Interstate Route 70 through St. Louis County and St. Louis City.
Senator Bond got that idea from Post-Dispatch columnist Bernie Miklaus.
And, of course, they're still thinking of changing the street, Stadium Drive, permanently.
7 o'clock, don't miss it. Mark McGwire.